Hey guys, so I had a lot of thoughts from this podcast. I had to make note of them on my phone, so I'm going to be reading them from here if that's okay. So, one of them was about supervision of how we need to make sure that we communicate problems and continue communicating with our bosses after this. And I agree that that is super important because I've seen how much it's helped me thus far to talk to my supervisor about pretty much anything. I felt comfortable enough to be able to do that. Um, and it's been super helpful and it's helped me to feel confident in my experience and um, even though it's typically hard for me to take like constructive criticism, I feel like I've so far been able to take on like the learner role and actually be doing pretty good at being like humble with the corrections that I get and like they're super nice at giving the corrections, which is also super helpful. Um so yeah, and just like there's that safe space for me with my supervisor, we also have to have a safe space with our clients so that they can be able to, as was said in the podcast, help them say what feels unsayable and so that they can work through the things they need to work through and therapy can be valuable to them. Um, so also they talked about avoiding self-disclosure and I'm kind of wondering if that means totally or if that's just like when it comes to like detailed self-disclosure. I don't know. Like because I mean, it's kind of hard when you're sitting there with a client and they're telling you so many things about themselves, and then they ask you a question, and then are we just supposed to like give like a super short answer, or like how does that work? Because I've definitely, even today, was talking to a client and they asked me why I wanted to go into this work, and I told them a little bit of a detail of like family background, and I just don't know if that's allowed or how that works. I don't know. Anyway, maybe it depends on like the situation. I don't know. Um, Also, another good point that was made was about not being in your head about how good or bad you're doing when you're working with clients, just like focusing on the client and focusing on being present with them. And also, just obviously, we need to make sure that we're prepared to an extent to help them out, but being willing to just like on the fly switch things up if they don't, if they're not on that track of wanting to talk about what we had planned for, which that wasn't really talked about, but it just made me think of that. So hopefully that's okay to throw that in there. Um, and so yeah, so that's what I've learned. But now that when it comes to if I would want to do clinical therapy, I, for the longest time, had thought that yes, that is my main goal. I want to work with couples. I want to work with individuals. I want to work with kids. I want to do maybe school therapy, counseling, whatever. Um, but now that I've been working with clients on a non therapy level, but yet it's a level where I'm still counseling them, but they don't call it therapy. I'm a counselor intern. So it's different. It's definitely not as structured as therapy, which I'm actually liking because I feel like there's not as much pressure of like messing up or doing something, messing up. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so now that I've been working with those clients, I'm enjoying that work. And so I'm realizing that I do have other options than just clinical therapy, though I still have that option of, maybe next year for my other practicum going into a place where I get to be more involved with actual therapy and where I get to see that, yes, I love this or yes, I kind of hate it. Um, but yeah, so I'm still interested in it, but I'm not only interested in it. So I'm open to other options. Um, and yeah, and I'm open to other options because I've seen that I can still make a really big difference. I mean, from my viewpoint so far, hopefully it's a big difference for them too, the clients, of helping them out, even though I'm not strictly doing therapy. I'm still helping them on their recovery from addiction. So, anyways, yeah, those are my thoughts. Thanks, guys.